nobody stop what the Most High put together. We gon' see. In times.
Serpents lurking, watchers watching, Yasharala stay on point. They lurking. We under the covenant, we ain't got no other choice. Gird your loins up, armor up, cause it's time for war. We the generation that's gon' get on one accord. Serpents lurking, watchers watching, Yasharala stay on point. We under the covenant, we ain't got no other choice. Gird your loins up, armor up, cause it's time for war.
Hi, sir. What's your name, sorry?
Martin Lagana.
Hi, I'm Dale. How you doing, man?
Nice to
Alright.
meet you.
Can I ask you, are you studying here at university?
I am,
Can
yeah.
I ask you what you're studying?
I'm doing MSc Investment Analysis.
Right, okay. Can I ask you, do you like science? Are you quite scientifically minded?
I do like science, but I wouldn't say I'm the brightest, so I'm probably not that scientifically minded.
I love natural science.
Okay.
If I describe natural science as observable, measurable, testable, repeatable, would you agree that that's the core of science?
Yes.
Yes, it has to be fit that criteria, or else we wouldn't have the technologies we have, you know.
That's true.
So if I was, would you say this was science then? If I was to show you this, hang on. If I was to show you that image, which is of, you know, Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster, and I says, look, there's my proof that Nessie is real, would you accept that as scientific fact that Nessie was actually real?
No.
You wouldn't?
No.
No. Do you accept that as scientific proof that the Earth is a ball?
You've got a point with the photos. I think they have sort of tested that, haven't they? There's like lots of different studies. I'm not aware of them, but they've tested that, haven't they?
But just on a one-to-one, if we don't use a logical fallacy and
Yeah.
invoke powers and authority, if we just keep it one-to-one. So the point being that if I made a claim to you, you know, I could bring you an image, but you couldn't really trust the image because it's not really scientific, is it? Because
Yeah,
I could show you Superman and say, there's Superman's real, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even at that image, do you think that image looks real?
Not really.
Right, okay, so that's fine. This is actually an official NASA
is it?
image, by the way. So, based on that, right, so we've established that, you know, we can't accept images as being scientific because they can be manipulated.
That's true, yeah.
So, based again on natural science, can I ask you, when you look out at the horizon, what shape is the horizon?
It appears to be flat.
Appears to be flat. If I said to you that it is a fundamental fact of reality that water does not conform to the exterior of shapes, water will take the shape of any container, any receptacle that it's in, but the surface from one end to the other will always be at the same elevation, and you would never have convexity in a body of water. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. So that's just saying that it's flat no matter where it's contained. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
So we know that that's an observable, measurable fact of reality, that that's how liquids behave upon Earth.
Yeah.
So knowing that one simple fact of reality, do you believe that you live on a globe? We know that the horizon's always flat. We know that water is always level.
I'm out of my depth there, isn't it? I don't know. I thought it was something to do with the gravity keeps the water flat somehow.
Could you observe that anyway?
Is that not observable? Just is that not?
Well,
I'm not too sure.
It is observable, but if we look at that image, you know, when we're looking at these globe Earth claims, you know, the ocean has a huge curvature on it. Now we know that water does not behave like that on Earth. You know, so, you know, we don't have any practical examples. We know that that's the natural physics of water, but yet we're supposed to believe in these images that contradict our natural observations. Do you think there's a serious contradiction with the images and with observable reality?
It's hard for me to say. I guess it's just having a different perspective from space, right? I'm not too sure.
This image here on the right is through a camera called a Nikon P900 Coolpix, and this is what NASA shows that Mars looks like. Do you think there's a serious contradiction there?
Yes.
Have you ever viewed the stars and the planets through your own eyes?
Yeah.
You have? Do they look like that?
They don't know.
They don't? So do you believe that that would be a real representation? Considering that that's through an actual camera?
Are their cameras better, NASA? Do they have like higher?
If I go back to this,
I'm not too sure because I don't know.
see if I show you this image, okay? So supposedly when they were on the moon, this is Earth from 240,000 miles away. Yet they show us this image of Earth from 1 million miles away. Do you think there's an issue there with that? If you were standing on,
yeah, definitely, yeah. Because why is it further away?
yeah, it looks like our moon.
Yeah.
If the Earth was 4 times the size of the moon and we were standing on the moon, the Earth would be huge in our visual range.
True,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
Is that NASA as well?
Yeah. So here we have, this is called the Danyang Kunshan Grand Bridge, China. It's 102 miles long, and it has been built without any curvature taken into account of the Earth. Nothing that we construct is ever accounted for. We don't account for curvature on anything we construct. Over 102 miles, the curvature calculator tells us that we should be seeing, for the first mile we have 8 inches of curvature, and then every time after that it's squared. So, you know, the curvature calculator is 8 inches times the mile squared. So over, you know, you can see that you would have 6,990 foot spherical drop from one point to the other if the Earth was a globe. Because if it's a globe, it must have measurable curvature.
I see what you're saying.
But we don't have any measurable curvature.
So they just build that straight then?
Of course.
So based on the science, they should have had to make it
curved.
Okay, yeah.
But the water, we know that the water is flat and level.
Okay, yeah.
Everywhere we go, there is no curvature.
Okay.
But people are so stuck because these institutions like NASA shows these images.
Yeah.
But observable reality is telling us something different. So would you trust your own senses over an institution like NASA, or would you ignore your own senses and trust NASA?
Well, when I come to think about it, you would have to trust your senses, wouldn't you?
Well, you wouldn't be standing here dressed and you know, with your hair fixed and your shaved. You know, you'd have cuts everywhere, and if you couldn't trust your senses.
It's this. I guess it's the same with a lot of things like religion and so forth. You can't really take what you're told.
Well, that's the thing. You know, that's a perfect point. If I go to a religious person and I said, "Prove to me, you know, your religion's true," they would show me text. They would show me images and crucifixes and blah blah blah. So, you know, that for me is no actual proof.
Yeah.
So when I say to somebody, show me a practical example of a body of water and how it conforms to the exterior of a shape, and they can't show me that, then for me that's religious. It's the same thing. If I can't recreate the claims that are made, then why should I believe them? You know? And at the same point, you know, I should ignore my senses and believe, like, say, Catholics, because they have a crucifix and some text. You know, that doesn't constitute scientific proof in my... Would you agree with that?
I would agree, yeah.
So, do you fly?
I do, yeah.
See, when you're on an aeroplane, you know, and you look out the aeroplane, have you ever saw curvature?
No, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Where is the horizon?
The horizon? Well, it's always in the distance, right?
At your eye level?
Yeah.
So if we were standing on the sphere and
Yeah.
we took off from the sphere and we started to come up, the horizon should be lowering
Oh, yeah, yeah.
away in every direction from us.
Does that happen when you get to a certain altitude or not?
Well, there's
Does it not
high
happen?
altitude balloon footage of 121,000 feet and the horizon's eye level are perfectly flat.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll show you the...
It is on flights, it is flat.
Yep.
So I
And
guess
that's the point. If you're on an aeroplane, say you're going from the UK here, where am I? Where is the UK? I've lost it. If you're on the UK and you were travelling, I mean, where was the most recent place you travelled to?
No, I haven't been on many holidays. I went to Dubai not too long ago.
Right, so Dubai, we're over here. So you can see, you know, this huge curvature
That's
from
true,
Dubai.
yeah.
Now a plane travelling at 500 miles per hour, and again, if you apply the curvature mathematics to it, it would have to be dipping its nose down and accounting for the curvature to fly and keep with the ball all the way around. Have you ever experienced being on an aeroplane with the nose dipped down as it flies?
Never. Only when it's landing, right?
Right, so it takes off and it flies
Yeah,
parallel and flat
exactly,
until
yeah.
it's coming to land. But unfortunately, if you lived on a ball, it would have to take account the curvature, because if it was lying parallel here and it took off and it's kept flying straight, what happens?
It's gonna go in another direction, right?
Off out into,
Yeah. Oh, off it into space, right? It'll be like there.
yeah. So it would have to keep
Yeah.
with the earth to go round. So this is, you're aware of the high altitude jump, that, you know, it's meant to have been the highest jump from a balloon. I can't remember the Felix Bogmatter, I think his name is.
I know the guy, yeah. Red Bull
So,
guy.
yeah, and you can see here he's at 128,000 feet, right?
Yeah.
Now, that curvature that we're seeing, if you were to continue that, you know, that Earth is not very big at all. You know, based at 128,000 feet, you know, I could travel on my motorbike, I could get round that Earth in a couple of hours, you know, based on the size of it. You can see here it's more pronounced, the curvature. This is from inside without a fisheye lens. Before he goes outside, he's got fisheye lenses on his GoPro cameras. This is a wide eye lens, that's a wide angle lens that's in here, and the horizon's perfectly flat. So, are you aware of a GoPro lens?
Not really. I know I've heard of them, but I don't know.
GoPro lenses curve.
Oh,
everything,
I see.
so you get a wider view
yeah.
in. So when you go up high, and it only works with a flat horizon. I mean, you know, it's that, if it's looking straight on, you'll get curvature. If it starts to bounce, you'll get the horizon going convex, concave, convex, concave, and it'll bounce.
I see. Yeah.
But when you use a normal wide eye lens, the horizon's always flat and level. If I show you these images, this is from 1978 and this is from 2012. This is America and this is also America. Do you see a problem with that?
Yeah, it looks like a desert, doesn't it?
In the size comparison?
This looks bigger.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yep. It's the same, it's from NASA. These are NASA's photographs. If you look at this, can you tell me whether you would agree with this or not? So you agree that the top two would be reality?
Yeah.
Yep. You think that's reality?
It would find a way to be flat if it
course
was
it
put
would.
in there, but I'm here. I'm not too sure. I've never seen it like that.
Yeah, what it's showing you here is the ground underneath. So if you were in, say, a swimming pool and you put a shape under the water, would you see the shape of it on top of the water?
No.
Of course you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't. So that's, again, we know that this is reality, right? Now, in order for it to be a globe, this would have to be reality. But it's not. Do we trust our natural observations, or do we throw them out and trust the images?
I guess you'd have to trust, or you have to question and trust your instincts, right? But I think a lot of people just don't bother to think about this kind of stuff.
No, I know they don't.
I've never
I know they
thought
don't.
about it before.
Do you think it's important to know the truth about where you're living?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, because without it, you know, what does your life mean if you're basing it on a false foundation?
Yeah.
Would it make sense to you that if I says to you that, you know, they convinced people that we lived on a globe to stop us from exploring, to stop us from getting up and going and exploring to see what else is there? Because in somebody's psychology, if you tell them they're on a sphere, there's nowhere to go. Everything's been discovered. So therefore you're just going to stay still and you're just going to go on with your life as best that you can, and you know, does that make sense to you?
So do they mean to stop people discovering on Earth?
Well, you know, for people like me, I think there's more beyond this Earth. I think there's a possibility that there is other ponds like ours and that they're hiding that from us. And this is why you have us looking up at the sky thinking that, you know, we explore by going into outer space and blah blah blah, which for me is nonsense, and I'll tell you why I think it's nonsense. When I look at this can, right, inside this can I have a pressurised gas. So I would see that inside there is a pressurised system.
Right, yeah.
Would you agree that we live in a pressurised system? Would you agree that we live in pressure? Air pressure? We have pressure all round us.
Yeah, is that right? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. No, that's fine if you don't know.
Okay.
But the point being, the reason why I'm showing you this is to tell us that when they go into the vacuum of space, well, that space is a vacuum, and that we live in a positive pressure system, and there is no, there can be in the solid barrier, there is no solid barrier between the two. Now, in reality,
I see.
if I remove the casing, what happens to the gas in
It
there?
escapes, right?
And it equilibrates with the rest of the environment.
Yeah, so we should technically all be dead, right? If that was the case.
Well, if you have two opposing pressure systems, testable in reality, 100% of the time, unless you separate the two of them, even if you have a hairline crack, you're going to get a pressure release. But they expect us to believe that layers of gas gradually thin out until they pop into this vacuum of space.
Okay.
But we can't recreate that. We can't observe it or test it anywhere at all.
Okay.
So would you say that it was scientific then?
No, not until you've explained it.
Yep. Has this whole thing made you start to question the validity of you living on a spinning ball flying in infinite space?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, because they used to say the world was flat, right? Why
Yeah.
did what? And somebody, I don't know who it was, said it was circular.
Yeah. Round.
And when did they decide? Like, why would they make the change then? Like you said.
For me, I could logically look at it for control. If there was more land there, and you didn't want people discovering that more land, you could devise the globe. Because again, if you think that you're on a globe, there's no way off. There's nothing else to discover. You're stuck on it. So it would stop you from thinking, well, there might be something else for me to go and find. So therefore, I'll just stay still here.
And if it's flat, but it must end at some point, right? Or
Nobody knows.
Okay. I can see what you mean. I can see.
The thing about it is we have these images of flat Earth that are implanted in our consciousness, like it's a circular disc, or it's a square with an edge, and you fall off into into space. But these are cartoon images. They're not really, where did we get them from? They're just as cartoon as these images that shows of the globe Earth.
That's true. So there's no real basis to say that it could just be infinite for all we know. Right?
Well, they say space is infinite.
Yeah.
So they're allowed to say space is infinite, but yet if I say, the Earth may be infinite, no, it's just as valid as what they have said. But we have so many areas in the Earth that are kept that we are not allowed to go and explore freely, like Antarctica, the North Pole, without a guide, without government approval and stuff like that. You can't just go wandering about these places. So for me, people like me and John here, we are suspicious about what it is they're actually hiding from us. We know now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we don't live on a spinning ball. We have Gav, a guy, I'm going to give you a card. If we go live on a Saturday night, we invite anybody to come and prove to us that the Earth is a globe. We have guys like Gav, who's an honours degree graduate from in maths and physics from Glasgow University. He knows that what they told him is nonsense.
Okay.
And you have so many people new coming forward and starting to question and really ask questions. And really that's all we're doing. We're asking questions. But since we started that, we've found that there's so many organisations on like social media who are there to try and stop us from questioning it. We get so much opposition, we get so much, and it's not like logical discussion. There's never any scientific proofs. It's just name calling and ridicule, and which is obviously a logical fallacy.
Yeah.
It's no, science is objective. It doesn't need to be an argument. We don't argue about the natural world. We can only, observe it and measure it. So, do you think you would look into it after today?
Yeah, I would definitely read about it and see what the situation is.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it before. Thank you. So is this used for, what's this used for? Is it like, are you doing a study or something?
Well, I've been doing this for 2 years now. I started off just doing my vlogs talking about it, and then I adapted it into a live thing. So that on a Saturday night, you open the platform up and anybody can come on. It doesn't matter, if you're, whoever you are, if you're a scientist, a lecturer, whoever you think you are, they can come on and provide scientific proof that the Earth is actually a sphere. Now, in over a year of doing that, we've had absolutely nobody providing any proof that the Earth's a sphere. So, and as I say, common sense, our own observations, we know water's flat and level. The Earth is 70% covered in water, therefore it has to be a level plane. Yeah. So,
interesting. I don't know.
If it was a globe, do you think there should be measurable curvature of the globe? You would expect it to be measurable in some way.
Yeah, but I don't know. Is there something that I was listening to something about navigation? Like the way they calculated navigation was under the assumption the Earth was curved, and that allowed them to make the first maps or something. I don't know.
Well, for me, we were already navigating on the level plane, and what they've done is they've superimposed, the level map onto a globe. So they tell you that you can just do a circumnavigation east to west around the globe, but they never do it north to south. They never go a full way from the top, right round the bottom and back to the top again. It's always east to west. And it's very simple, and it's for this reason. If that's the Earth here, and that's the area of the Earth, then for me to go right around the Earth, I just go...
Yeah.
And I end up back where I started.
Yeah. Okay.
But to go north to south, I would have a problem.
Yeah.
If I was just to go straight across. Because if I keep going, I'm just going to go and I'm away from the Earth now. So in order to give you the illusion that it's a ball, you go round.
I see. I kind of did.
Well, this is the thing. If you forget about anything that I've just said to you, and I started afresh and I says, why do you believe you live on a globe? What would your reasons
Yes,
be?
because I've been told. Sorry, right, yeah.
And that's the same for us. You got us when we were kids, before our critical thought started, and they told us that that's the fact, and everybody else just believed it. So therefore, we'd put it at the back of our minds and we don't question it ever again. And then we'll just believe, whatever they're telling us. Until you get to a point like today, where somebody's actually making you question it, and you can see the absurdities right away, and the contradictions. So basically that was, that's all we could have hoped for, was to get an honest answer from you and hope that, you'll go and question it now.
Yeah, that's really good. So you got a YouTube channel?
Yep.
With is that it? Beyond Library, or is that the name of the channel? I'll watch some of your videos.
We've all seen it, whether we have eyes to truly comprehend it or not. Our enemy likes to shroud the truth in plain sight, and has operated this way since the origination of the entertainment industry. Once you've waded through the deception, it becomes apparent that the subject matter relating to day 2 of creation is a vital piece of the truth mosaic. Not only does eschatology come alive in a whole new way, but your appreciation and excitement about our enclosed Earth habitat does as well. To build on a foundation of context, let's start by taking a look at the very beginning of creation. Genesis 1, verses 1 and 2. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. There are a couple of things I'd like to point out in these 2 introduction verses. The first is that, although verse 1 sounds like a summary statement of everything that God created from day 1 to day 6, I don't believe that to be the case. On day 1, Yahweh created the heavens, plural, where He and all the other spirit beings reside, the formless and void earth on our plane of existence, as well as all the waters. I'll expound on the significance of the plural heavens being made on day 1 after we've read a few other specific texts. The second thing to take note of is that the creation of the waters isn't specified in Genesis, even though it's obviously implied, as God's Spirit is said to have hovered over the surface of the waters. This is where a very revealing passage out of the companion book to Genesis, the Book of Jubilees, sheds some light on the specifics of what was directly created on day 1. Jubilees 2:2 says, "For on the first day He created the heavens which are above, and the earth, and the waters." Without the creation details found in Jubilees chapter 2, we wouldn't have the direct mention of the waters being created, as well as the locality of the created heavens above. Another exciting detail packed away in Jubilees chapter 2 is the mention of all the different angelic spirit beings created on day 1, which my Entertaining Angels video series will cover in great detail. We know that like all things, angels are created entities, but we aren't told which day they were created on in the Genesis account. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Book of Jubilees and its history, I highly recommend checking it out. Continuing on in Genesis, then God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." God made the firmament, and separated the waters which were below the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. God called the firmament heaven. Then there was evening and there was morning, a second day. Here we have on the second day a particular structure being made, a structure called a firmament. The Hebrew word for firmament is rakia, Strong's number 7549. It's defined as being an extended surface or expanse, and comes from the root word rakah, Strong's number 7554, which means to beat out, stamp, or spread out. As we can see here with the couple of verses on the right, it implies that what is being hammered, beaten, and spread out is a solid object. The firmament, rakia, is solid. The Book of Jubilees similarly records in Jubilees chapter 2 verse 4, "And on the second day he created the firmament in the midst of the waters, and the waters were divided on that day. Half of them went up above, and half of them went down below the firmament that was in the midst over the face of the whole earth. And this was the only work God created on the second day." We're informed that the firmament structure that was created on day 2 was placed in the midst of the waters that were created a day earlier. As a result of the installment of this physical firmament barrier, half of the waters went up above, and half of them went down below. Once again, we see the usage of directional terms being applied to what took place. Water going up, and water going down.
He gon' send his hand, destruction gotta come, that's how he get us out this lane. The devil working hard, trying to get us out his plane. His sheep hear his voice, so he can't get us out his hand. We gon' trust the son of man, blow your winds, Father. Your kingdom coming, we just trying to make it in, Father. Rather we